You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
This would be the time of the podcast where we talk about some crazy stuff that we've been getting up to, or some things we've seen done.
Uh-huh.
I have nothing for you. I have either all I have done is eat, planted, and watched things. Read things, I guess you'd say.
I mean, honestly, like the way that you described those particular three things, it sounds pretty great. And
yeah, that sounds like a nice life.
I like sound like those a pioneer. Okay, that's what I sound like.
But I like those things for you. Like, I mean, fold in like maybe like one additional activity, like you sort of like, you know, learn to loom or something, and that would have been that's like a nice time.
That's getting close. I mean, it's just I mean, it's all like, well, I guess it's time to get the composting gun done again, and I don't even know how you do that. And
the composting gun sounded way more Freudian. I'm just gonna let you know. I mean, I guess like we're always taping 2 weeks sort of like ahead. So right now it's like the end of week 7, I guess, right? Like
8, I thought.
Oh, end of week 8. Goodness. Okay. Yeah. See, I've lost all my weeks too. So I mean, this is I guess, you know, I'm constantly asking what is time, and just I think I'm like also measuring time in weird increments. So like my first 4 or 5 weeks of isolating was sort of watching Dexter with my grandma.
Yes. And
my last 3 weeks and 4 weeks of isolating has been our pivot to heart. And this is not like, this is like kind of a downgrade from Dexter, which is weird, because you know Dexter's not.
I don't even think you needed to say that.
Well, so I haven't watched Heart to Heart since I was a child, and I used to watch it in reruns with my family. I forgot. I mean, it's kind of fascinating to watch it now. It is super horny. Like, it is one of the horniest.
But isn't that why we liked it? Because
I didn't know that. I was very young. Like, I was like
attracted to each other and solved crimes, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I get why it was popular. But I had just forgotten. Like, I was like tweeting about how much like Robert Wagner's chest is always like, his buttons are always done to his navel. And I pointed it out in like the first episode to my grandma. I was like, that was such like a male style, like in the late, like 1979, 1980, like just men could not do up the buttons of their shirt. And grandma had never noticed that. And now she can't unsee it. So every time she does like chest watch for each episode, and she's always like, his shirt's unbuttoned. His shirt's buttoned up. And that's
so, wow.
That's how I measure time now.
Do you guys make a tally or like a list, or?
No, it's just mental tally. It's just such good times.
I think I could measure time by the number of, when you go on Netflix and it's like finish watching and there's like 5,000 things there. Half watched, a quarter watched. I just lose interest and something else new and shiny comes on. So I click on that. And for my book club, we're doing Emma.
Oh, nice. I really want to do that movie for us.
The new one. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good perspective because it was really a lot duller in the 1700s for sure.
Yep.
There was a lot of weird parties, very slow and sitting around, and then a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Good walk somewhere.
Yep.
And then maybe a charade.
A charade. Wow. Have you guys done like a family games at home with like your families and stuff? Like,
yeah, no, that's charades.
No, oh, you mean a charade? Oh, okay,
that's
never
charade.
mind.
I don't even know what that is. Really, they would send them to each other.
I don't know.
It's like a riddle. Like a riddle.
Just like a long distance query.
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
And they collect them.
Has mail become like the highlight of your day?
Well,
I find that
do you order a lot of things?
ordering, not a lot of things, but I like to get a
Like your
couple.
voice went up. Not a lot. I mean, that's a lot.
I like to get a couple things a week, but I just it's become a thing now where I look forward to the delivery person coming and look forward to my packages.
No, that is a nice. That is nice. But I don't know what I'm looking forward to anymore. I don't know.
That sounds bleak, dude. We need an
Well,
intervention.
I mean,
yeah, no, I get it.
But the thing is, they've announced, I know that we're taping ahead, but they've announced the loosening of restrictions now. So are you both really excited about
am I excited to go to a restaurant and
taking baby steps?
Like 10 feet away from other people?
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable about that. I feel like if I went to a restaurant, I would feel like I was hurting the serving staff. I know. I guess they all want to be there. I don't know. Should I go in and ask?
I think
everyone here want to be here. Like
wear a mask, wear gloves
for dinner. How do you wear a mask for dinner?
Well, I mean, just into the restaurant, take it off while you're eating, put it back on, and just tip really well. I think that's like yeah. Although I mean,
there won't be any concerts or festivals or gatherings, which. As it turns out, I mean, that's such a funny word to me, but it turns out I really like gatherings. I feel like I'm reading Jane Austen again. A gathering?
Well, now you can have 6 people seated 2 meters apart on your front lawn, and you can make eye contact with them. And if you feel good about their health, you could give them a friendly hug and then immediately sanitize yourself from head to toe. So, I mean, come on, that's a good time, guys. Like that's.
I don't know why I said that earlier that I didn't feel hopeful. I don't know why. That great.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it. It all makes sense completely.
Of course,
I understand everything about that. But actually, I heard someone who worked in a seniors home talking about, the reality of all the changes. And they said, actually, to a lot of the residents here, it's not a big deal. They've been through way worse. Like they've been through wars, they've been through all kinds of other deprivations, the depression. They're like, yeah, whatever. And they're like, well, they can't have dinner now in the lounge with all the other people, so they have to have the food taken to their room. And they're all, yeah, we'll probably just stay here now. We like this better.
Well, and the other thing is, that's kind of like, it's in the fine print of it all, is that all of these like loosening of restrictions are not applicable to seniors or those who have underlying health conditions. So like if you have seniors in your life, or you have people with health conditions in your life, like nothing's changing. Like well, that's
can't
the thing.
See anybody.
Well, that's the thing. So I mean, this is one of the things we have to sort of like, my sister and I are sort of in dialogue about, as it were. Because she really wants my grandma.
Things are in a good place with your sister
when you're using that language.
We use the word in dialogue.
Yeah.
So we'll circle back later.
Truly.
I'm saying this as a person who has a sister.
Yeah. I love my sister, but yeah, like I mean, it's like we're so lucky that we both like have a grandma who means so much to us that we want to spend all our time with, but she really wants her back, and I'm kind of like, no, because like she is much more likely to sort of like have increased contact with other people than I am, and so we are right now. Grandma's set to go back to her house like next week, and everyone has a lot of feelings about it.
She's going to go back there alone? She's going to be alone?
No.
Oh.
Like to go back to like my sister's house and be with my niece and my sister.
Oh.
Yeah. So feelings, guys.
Nothing more than feelings.
Also, like, how are Grandma and I going to have like our chest hair updates? I don't even know. But with
These are
those
things that have
loosened
not
restrictions,
been addressed, I've felt.
Yes, I know. With these loosened restrictions, I will, at the very least, not be completely forbidden from seeing my grandmother upon her return to my sister's house. I will, even if it's just me, go sit in her room with her, sanitize going in, sanitize coming back out, and we'll watch our murder shows in her bedroom. So that'll be, a different return to form in its own way.
That sounds fun. Why don't you just get a hazmat suit? Then you can just...
Honestly, I want a hazmat. I would love a hazmat suit. If they only made them just, I don't know, a little bit more accessible. I would totally get hazmat suit and just do that. Or I'd put my grandma in it so that she's fine. Grandma doesn't care what she wears.
Maybe.
That would be fine.
A lot, though.
I mean, as long as she can get in and out of it to go to the bathroom, she's good to go.
The two of you could look like you're in Breaking Bad when they were cooking.
Always. We already have a real Thelma and Louise vibe, so. I mean, speaking of Thelma and Louise, what about Velma and Roxy?
Oh, what a segue! I was trying to make that sound like a show number there, but...
That sounded great.
And we have a segue. I can sing that because it's not a real song.
You did a beautiful job. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
And I'm Andrea Gin.
You're listening to Pop This! Home edition.
Oh, yeah, the dreary edition. But we're going to spice things up with a musical about murder.
See, razzle dazzle you. We're going to razzle dazzle the freak out of all of you. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we're going to just make you feel really good about murder and shootings.
Honestly, I already felt kind of okay about it sometimes, at least in a fictional sense. And Chicago really does delight me on every level.
Chicago, the movie version we're going to talk about.
Yes, the
which
movie
is based
musical.
on the musical from the 1970s, which is based upon a play, which is based upon a reporter, right? Am I getting the layers here?
The musical, the Broadway musical in 1975 was the original thing, and it was based upon. I pasted the whole background into our outline because I'm obsessed with it. But I didn't know that it was based on sort of true stories. Yeah. So Lisa, do you want to read? I know that I'm jumping all over the place right now, but do you want to read a little bit about who it's based on?
Okay, not do the synopsis yet? Maybe we should do the synopsis. You do the synopsis then.
Okay. So Chicago centers on Roxy Hart, played by Renee Zellweger, and Velma Kelly, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, two murderesses who find themselves... I know, right? So good. In jail together, awaiting trial in 1920 Chicago. Roxy, a housewife, and Velma, a vaudevillian, fight for the femme fatale. Fight for the fame that will keep them from the gallows.
Literally.
Literally.
Okay. Yeah. Background from Rachel Feiner for New York Magazine. It all began with real-life pair of murderesses and the journalist who followed their stories. Maureen Dallas Watkins, both a reporter and dramatist, worked for the Chicago Tribune in 1924. During this time, the general public found entertainment in making criminals into celebrities. Oh, that's so different than now.
It's so different. 100 years later. Who knew?
Yeah. With the press sensationalizing stories of crime, the trials of Belva Gartner and Beulah Annan, were among some of these stories. Both women had been accused and acquitted of murder. Gartner was a somewhat popular jazz singer of her time. She was sent to jail for allegedly shooting her lover in the car. This murderess is the inspiration for Chicago's Velma Kelly, the popular jazz singer who catches her lover in an affair. Velma's character is loosely based on her real-life counterpart. However, the similarities between Roxy Hart and Annan are striking. Allegedly, Annan shot her lover for lying to her about his ability to help her become a famous jazz singer. Annan is also known to have changed her story many times throughout the trial. Her claims about how she and her husband both reached for the gun directly inspired one of the musical songs.
I just loved getting this background. I've seen Chicago so many times in so many different iterations. I think I was telling you guys that I saw Chicago when Sandy Duncan played Roxy Hart, and like I was in the front row in cheap student tickets, and I had Sandy Duncan's crotch in my face, like the whole show.
Sandy Duncan.
Sandy Duncan. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I know, wild, right? Yeah, and like that was and it was just like that was like the summer that I lived in New York for the first time, and it was so exciting. And anyway, so that was such an interesting and I've loved this musical for so long, but I've never really looked into the background of it. And so I was so delighted to find out that it was inspired by something true.
You know what else I was reading about? The term sob sister journalism. Because, basically the reporter in this film played by
Christine Baranski,
the Mary Sunshine character is kind of like the journalist who covered those original murder trials. And basically back in those days, like it was really uncommon for women to cover murder trials. It was always men covering the story. And so for this trial, though, they decided to assign a bunch of women to the story so they could tell it like from a more like emotional point of view and kind of and they like were told to write stories that would like elicit pity or make people cry. And so one of the male reporters termed it sob sister journalism. And that's
thanks, dude.
Yeah, basically. But basically that became a thing after that, is just like women's point of view on kind of grisly crimes and how they like humanized it and made it sentimental and so that has continued on to this day with like Nancy Grace, type shows that are just,
I mean, I would argue Nancy Grace dehumanizes a lot of that stuff, but true crime is the most popular amongst women. Like women,
yeah, that is.
Women are the consumers of true crime.
Yeah,
fascinating.
It is fascinating.
sob sister journalism.
Sob sister. Wow, that's a term that I'm going to sit on for a little bit.
Yeah,
and
so it's interesting. We all have these different things about this musical. So for me, I have to say what's odd is. So the director, Rob Marshall, also a choreographer.
Yeah. And
to know that originally Bob Fosse wanted the Turndust musical, as you said, in 1975. And he's probably, I mean, I think that most people probably don't know the name of any choreographer, but they will know Bob Fosse if they had to name one. So it strikes me as a big thing that he just decided, I'm going to redo this. I'm going to choreograph it myself. That seems like a bold, ballsy move there, because that's the whole thing. Anyway, the weird thing is that I'm not such a fan of Chicago, but I'm a huge fan of that movie, All That Jazz, with Roy Scheider.
I've never seen it.
Oh, that's just such an amazing, I think anyway. So it's Bob Fosse made it about his own life, trying to do a musical about his own life. But anyway, it's called All That Jazz, right? Which is the big showstopper of this, of Chicago, right? So anyway, I kind of was like a little disappointed. I thought for some reason that it was more to do with Bob Fosse, and he's not even in the picture.
Was this the first time you saw Chicago?
I feel like I've seen it, but I didn't remember it as well as I thought. I'm sure I've seen it. I mean, I knew a lot of it, but perhaps I don't know, I forgot a lot of it. I think a lot of it's quite forgettable, actually. So,
those are some cutting words, Lisa Christiansen. Also, I love the idea that like this movie suffers from the fact that it wasn't what you thought it was about.
Live up to my expectations. I mean, you didn't even know we all had. I know.
I love I love that as the attitude of like, you know what, this wasn't what I wanted at all, and I refuse to like you.
I'm not gonna say I shot someone about it, but maybe I did.
Andrea, had you seen it before?
Yeah, I saw it when it first came out. And
what was your experience of going back to it?
I think I've come to think that it's better than I originally thought it was. And because I think I didn't really take it seriously, because I, back in when did it come out? 2002. Yeah.
We're celebrating the
yeah, just
important
like
18th
The
anniversary.
important 18th, like we love an important 18th anniversary. It's legal to drink in Alberta, this movie now.
It's a very the
It can
18
yeah.
it can vote in
20
the
anyway, can do
States.
20.
Uh
But I
all women
hadn't
can
Yeah, I hadn't seen it since, and I think just rewatching it, I appreciate it now that like I think, like all the actors in the movie did a pretty fine job with their singing and dancing. Um, Especially like Catherine Zeta-Jones is pretty spectacular. And I think, like that was to refer to another musical, but like one of the reasons I couldn't really get into La La Land, even though like I like Ryan Gosling and I like
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, but I have come to expect from musicals that there are these like big song and dance numbers with people like belting out songs Broadway style and being fantastic dancers, and La La Land just didn't do that, and I just couldn't really, I don't know, get into it because of that. And so when I was revisiting Chicago, it was like, yeah, this is what a Broadway musical is supposed to look like. There's supposed to be
Yeah, I
like
can see
these
that.
big blowout numbers.
Yeah. Like I mean one of the things that I remember loving it a lot when I first saw it, and I am a real dork for musical theater. I love musical theater. How do you guys feel about musical theater?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You do?
It'd be
Okay.
weird not to like it.
A lot of people don't though. Like so many people don't.
I don't know
I
them. I don't fraternize with them.
I wouldn't call myself a fan of musical theater, but I don't.
Oh, so you do fraternize with
hate
one.
it.
You just didn't know.
No. I mean, I'm not that person that could, solve the BuzzFeed quiz of like Spring Awakenings and all that stuff. But I love musicals. I do.
Yeah.
I have a lot of favorites and songs
your
I can
favorite?
sing. Jesus Christ Superstar.
Which we've done on this podcast.
Yes, we have.
Which I did not care for at all. And I to
Yeah,
this day,
well, you didn't really
I know.
enjoy the source material,
I did not.
which is hilarious. The Bible.
Yeah, I was like, I get it. You know what? It's not my thing.
I don't really care for the Bible.
I mean, greatest work of fiction ever. But
I mean, sure, maybe Old Testament, but not new.
it's a real bestseller. But it's just not my vibe. No,
It's something that is totally mean, but that I feel bad about laughing at. But when I was reading the Wikipedia about the director of this movie,
Rob Marshall,
and he originally started off as a Broadway performer, but had to retire after injuring himself while performing in Cats.
I mean, that's a terrible musical to be taken down by. That sucks. That sucks. Like
a groin pull or something when he was tugging.
It's got yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Oh my God! Maybe in the musical theater world, when you say that to people, they're like, "Oh."
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Who hasn't
my
been
God.
taken
It's serious. It's a serious thing.
It's a serious thing.
Completely
And then you get
serious.
rushed to the hospital. You're still in that outfit.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Ooh, yeah, that's. I still haven't watched the new version of Cats. And because we had this whole plan around how we were gonna watch it around Christmas, and then I got sick, blah blah blah, and I just won't spend the amount of money that it costs to rent to watch at home yet.
Still?
So I figure it's gonna go down. Yeah, it's still like $20 or something to rent it to watch it at home. I think.
They
I
should
think
be
the last
paying
time we
us
checked.
to watch Cats.
Yes, but
I'm holding out until they
the
put the
butthole
buttholes
version.
back
Yeah,
in
that's the
then,
thing.
so-
I'm holding out for the butthole version too. I know the butthole version exists and I want it. But anyway, yeah. So in terms of like how much I love this musical, I had actually like forgotten a little bit about how I think about like how smart it is in its satirical sort of like approach to just like all of the grossest parts of sensationalistic media, the sort of consumption of like female tragedy, just like the 15 minutes of fame and like all of that. Like I forgot how smart the musical could be, and also how fun it was too, because and again, watching it with my grandma for the first, she had never seen it before. And so watching her like experience it, and at first she was really kind of not into it. She's not the biggest musical fan, but by the end of it, she was very into it, and that's what led us to. I had to like throw her and show her Renee Zellweger playing Judy Garland in the trailer for the Judy film.
I'll
And
tell you, Renee took a step up from our Empire Records
she sure did.
episode.
She sure.
I'll
Well,
tell
and
you
that's the
that.
thing. Like, I mean, she's still the weakest part of Chicago, but she's still good. You know,
Well, the
like,
thing is, like, her character is supposed to be not that talented, so
Yeah, so that worked.
it
I
worked.
mean,
oh,
in
it
a
does
weird
work.
way, unless she thought she was better than that. I don't know.
Well, it does work. I think she does a really good job. I just think, like, you know, Roxy is such a sort of underwhelming character unto herself, because she is definitely you know, an anti-hero, right? Like, she's not a particularly likable woman, and I can totally see why in 1975, when this hit Broadway, it was viewed as too cynical for Broadway audiences to like get behind, because, you know, Broadway, like, I have to say, like, I think like a lot of plays did not, especially musicals, did not leave a lot of space for complicated female characters until we got to like the late 70s, early 80s. Like, it just wasn't a space where you could sort of like have a lot of, not that there's a lot of nuance to these characters, but they are all kind of awful, but all kind of super fun and a little bit likable at the same time, because we understand like their motivations. They are meant to be terrible people who are in a terrible situation in a terrible town that is like, you know, the absolute corruption has like seeped from the rot of the city of Chicago into its like citizens.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Because now watching it, I actually found it a little bit boring. In only that we see so much of this. We've done so many episodes on these kind of, you know,
Well,
dark women
yeah,
stories that are murderers, or like the one I didn't like, that beauty pageant
Drop Dead Gorgeous.
mockumentary.
Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was almost the exact same kind of tone to it. And Heather's, which I again was all like, oh, I don't know, it's so cynical. So I feel like I've seen so many of those movies, you know, that have come out. And then 1975, that must have felt like, what in the good goddamn. Whereas by, you know, 2002, when this came out, right, there's so much of that. You know,
well,
we've already done that.
I was finding it funny because I'm watching The Good Fight right now with Christine Baranski starring in it, and that's also set in Chicago, and she's just kind of slightly changed her role from being a reporter to being a lawyer, but she's still dealing with all these like corrupt politicians. And
In my life, I have seen more legal dramas in Cook County than a person who has never spent any time there.
Yeah.
If you had to ask me,
But
I'd
I
be
mean-
like at Cook County Jail, you know.
It's Chicago.
But I mean, these
It's
are like the only,
Chicago.
it is Chicago, yeah. But like we only get kind of like, typically, so often we only really get like stories where either women are saints or women are sinners. Like, there's not a lot of in between space. And one of the things I like about Chicago, and what I do like, I mean, I am just naturally a fan of sort of that satire, that cynical comedy, like that appeals to me on a lot of levels. I don't find it boring the same way that like you do, Lisa. Like, it's just I think our like the things that we like are just quite different. So like I don't find it boring, because I think that I find so much other stuff super boring, because we see like sort of this like, we so often see like women characters framed in opposition, or not framed sort of in context to how they're having to survive like other people doing bad things to them. What I like about this is these women are doing the bad things to themselves. And I think that that's
Yeah, but I always feel
weirdly
there's a
appealing
class
to me.
issue in these stories, though.
Well,
that
there
we're
is,
making
and
fun of lower class people, and that makes me uncomfortable. Whereas something like another musical that I quite like, actually, the film version with Queen Latifah as well, Hairspray, where it's the same sort of class issue, but there's a positivity to what they're trying to do with the music and change, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Roger Waters. I always say Roger Waters. It's not.
That would
Not
be
the guy from Pink Floyd.
I
John
would-
Waters.
I would love to see a Roger Waters, John Waters collaboration. Like, that'd be great.
Why has that not happened yet?
I don't know.
Anyway, they already got pink flamingos, so Pink
Yep. Yep.
Floyd is
So
already
easy to do
there.
that.
But I just feel like his weird aesthetic of he's very much in a true crime thing. I mean, he loves that sort of world,
Well,
that
he did
dark world.
Serial
But
Mom.
yeah, exactly. But when I like him better when he's a little bit more positive. I don't know. I just feel like making fun of poor people it makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, see, I really honestly didn't think of this as making fun of poor people. I think of it as like I think of it as sort of like, I think of it as they are sort of having to survive the class that they are, like having to survive and try and like get out of sort of their class struggle into like the next stratosphere, as it's an indictment of capitalism, not making fun of poor people. And an indictment of like celebrity culture as well. Like, I never think of it as
Yeah, I
making
guess
fun of poor people.
indictment of celebrity culture is a weird one to me, because if you're smart enough to figure out, as they were, Roxy and Velma, that your ticket out of this garbage is to become famous, why do we judge them and make them feel? Why is it cynical then?
Well, because like all celebrity culture in general is sort of like a cynical situation that is its own class culture. Like,
But we always assume that the person doesn't know what they're doing. Like, we assume that
they know what they're
there's some
doing.
kind of not. Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like that's smart.
Oh,
I feel like it's smart.
Oh, I think they're smart. I don't think we're supposed to assume that they don't know what they're doing. Like, these are, I mean, my God, Roxy pivots on a dime to be like, I'm having a baby. Like, she comes, like, that whole sequence when she faints and says she's like having a baby, and suddenly everyone's so excited. Like, we see that she doesn't always make the best choices and the best decisions, but she has like a knack for, she's a quick learner. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's at a time where women's, offerings to the world were either marry well or, I guess, become an entertainer. I mean, you said that Andrea said there were a few female journalists, but that wasn't, it's not likely.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon.
It's pretty uncommon. So your best options, much like the Jane Austen novels,
marry well or murder well. Like, these are marry well or murder well. These are your only options, and
these are your options.
Yeah.
Or take to the stage, I guess. I mean, I think their interest in the stage was a lot more look at me kind of thing. But they're very smart, and I especially think that probably there was a lot of working together with women. There was a lot of it's not quite the same prison dramas that Orange is the New Black is, let's say.
I mean,
I found it interesting that the sort of coaching the person, like, on how they dress and how they speak in court, like, goes way back to then. And like, you're reminded of, like, she's told to wear a prim black dress and stuff like that. And just like as recently as last year, that grifter Anna Delvey,
yes,
she showed up in court, wearing this, like, it was much talked about black outfit with like a choker and looking like she was styled to have a certain look for her court case. And it's so interesting that, like, even though this movie is seen as like, oh, it's cynical and, like all that stuff, and like this was all happening way back then, like the same things still happen in court today, pretty much.
Oh yeah, no, nothing. I mean, that's what his, like, this is the show, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is just a show, and we know that. I mean, you could make a musical out of the OJ trial. I'm sure that's happening. Is somebody suggested that yet?
Expect that that's going to happen for sure at some point.
I mean, for the love of God, everything becomes a musical eventually. Like, when they announced that SpongeBob was going, I'm like, okay, like, why not? I mean, you already did the Bible and the story of Evita Peron, so why not?
Yeah. I mean, and the Bible's been done a couple times, right? Because there's Joseph, and he's got an amazing Technicolor coat.
Yeah, did you like that one?
I've seen that.
No, I hate that.
Donnie Osmond, right?
Yeah. And the other day, when we were watching, like, the Sondheim special that happened, like Sondheim at 90, they did like all the performances. I mean, that just had me riveted and in tears multiple times, and I loved it so much. But before we watched that, we were going through like different clips from different musicals that were online, and stumbled upon Donny Osmond in his peak early
Oh yes.
90s Donny Osmond Joseph, and it's like him like in one of his scenes where he's like half naked and like in a spotlight and just has his abs painted on, and I was just
I don't
like,
think biblical characters need abs.
No.
Jesus
that
always
wrong?
has abs. Doesn't he always
Did
like is it-
Moses, when Charlton Heston played Moses, did he have abs? I bet he did.
I don't know.
There was like sexy Moses, and then he got white hair. But
I
like
mean,
earlier days.
sexy religious figures always have to have like abs. Like apparently for certain types of people, abs are the key to like sexy religious features. I don't know. It's weird to me, but it's not my scene.
That's a funny
Anyway.
thing too, because like people, like stars these days are they work out all the time and they are so well muscle defined. And when they play characters from history, it always seems really incongruous.
I know you'd be a bit lumpier, or, like,
Yeah.
or thin. You'd just be looking wan.
You
That's
don't
the
have,
look,
those
right?
people don't have trainers back in the 1800s.
No, in the Civil War, you would just look like you haven't eaten in years.
Yeah.
Look, if
and
I
you were
don't
fighting.
see Alexander the Great with a treasure trail through his V line, then I am not watching the movie. Chicago was really popular though. I mean, it did win like 6
This movie
Academy
did.
Awards. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
movie
no.
like
The
6
musical
Academy
instead.
Awards.
Okay, yeah.
But
Yeah, and it was like the first picture to win, first musical to win Best Picture since Oliver in 1968.
but so I have a question.
Yeah.
So like these were the other movies nominated for an Oscar in 2002. Gangs of New York, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, The Pianist, Talk to Her, Far From Heaven, About Schmidt, Catch Me If You Can, Y Tu Mama Tambien, Minority Report, and Adaptation.
Those were all nominated that one year?
Yeah.
Oh.
So do we still think this is the best movie of 2002?
I mean, I love Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, that's not. I don't know if I would go stellar year. I didn't see Gangs of New York, so I just don't care about that stuff at all.
Adaptation.
I did for some unknown reason, because I love the Oscars almost more than I love movies sometimes. But I did watch Catherine Zeta-Jones getting her Best Supporting Actress.
Did she chew it up? I would expect nothing less.
She was pregnant, like 8 months or 9 months
Oh,
pregnant.
okay.
So it was a bit hard to go over.
Okay.
But it was very sweet, like, because Queen Latifah was nominated as well in the same category.
Yeah.
And it was Meryl Streep and Kathy Bates and Julianne Moore as well.
That's a big year to win.
That was a big, So, but the films were like, it was an adaptation, Meryl Streep. I mean, that's good, but
But honestly, Catherine Zeta-Jones is so good in this.
she's amazing. And anyway, Sean Connery gives her the award.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's standing up there in a ruffled blouse and a kilt.
Uh-huh.
And she comes up with the best line, of course. She's like, "Oh, I can't believe a Scotsman giving a Welsh girl an award."
That's adorable.
But
It is.
I think this is my favorite film of hers.
Me too. Honestly, I love her in this. I think this is so good. You can see how much like Velma. You can see Velma's desperation in everything Catherine Zeta-Jones does. Like, there's confidence and desperation, and to imbue the two things together in a character's like something as simple as like a character's like choreography, like the way she performs the choreography. And I honestly can't imagine having to perform like next to Renee Zellweger ever, because I don't think she, again, it speaks to the character. Roxy is not as talented as Velma, and that makes sense to me. But like, the way that Hollywood is so awful about women's bodies, like Catherine Zeta-Jones, like standing next to Renee Zellweger, it's a real contrast in like just musculature and like size and things like that.
Well, Catherine Zeta-Jones was a real dancer too. Like,
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
And I'm so curious as to how Renee Zellweger got the job, because she's not a singer or a dancer. Like, she can do both, But like,
But that's the point. Like Andrea said, the point is that
yeah, you're right.
it's supposed to be needy and delusional.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, okay, fair.
So in that way, I'm actually sometimes that can be frustrating because I mean Richard Gere was fine, but he's no song and dance man, right? It's not like
I thought
it's not like Hugh Jackman, right?
I knew you were gonna say Hugh Jackman belonged in this movie. I knew it. I feel like he does a really good job in his two big numbers, but I love him and Renee in the marionette number. Like
that's a good one.
That's
oh my god, that made me so happy. Like
you know what else? Like giving that in terms of best picture, what Andrea just asked. I mean, the editing in this film is outstanding. Like I don't know if it won that, but to keep all of that continuity that go to the to go to the musical, to the real world stuff, it is so fast and so smooth, and it always looks like I like the sort of way that it looks like a theater, but then the real life stuff looks really almost like a theater as well, so it has a really cool look.
Well, I mean, I think it was a stroke of genius to make all the musical numbers kind of like a fantasy sequence.
Yes, exactly. That's what everyone's in their head. Yeah.
Well, and it stays true to sort of the vaudevillian nature of the whole film. Like, I mean, everything, it feels exactly like it should be in the 20s when you're having musical numbers. Like, everything is relatively outside of, and I mean, I love Cell Block Tango with all of my heart. I think that's one of Cell Block Tango and Mama and Mr. Cellophane are like my three. It's a real three-way tie for my favorite numbers in this movie. But Cell Block Tango I think is just one of the most beautifully staged pieces in the whole film.
So I was watching this with my husband Joe. He saw it for the first time, and he was like, so I thought that they were wearing all of that lingerie because it was like inherent to the story somehow. And I was like trying to think of like why, like, I'm just so like, I have accepted that they're wearing lingerie through this whole movie. Yeah. But I've never questioned why they were dressed like that, even though like it's not really part of the characters or who they are. And it was just like, it's somehow so 2000 to have like them when they're doing that Cell Block Tango to be wearing all that black strap, like kind of Madonna.
Weirdly, that's a very Bob Fosse look.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's a Bob Fosse look, but it's also a very like sort of 20s underground nightclub kind of thing. Like, because like Prohibition is like alive and well at this moment, right? And so it's these are already people who are living in the underground world on a lot of.
But we don't really want to see them in those shapeless dresses that we see occasionally when they're eating and stuff. Like
I mean, their prison garb is like pretty terrible.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
But I thought a lot that too, because it's like Cabaret. Yeah. It made this made me think a lot of Cabaret. Only I like Cabaret more. I feel like Cabaret story is so real and sad and
it's it's a very different like story structure for sure, and it is fantastic. I love it as well.
But it's just that same sort of dance style and those same sort of outfits that they're always in. Well,
because there's there's a borrowing from burlesque too, right? And all that like that vaudeville burlesque sort of like walking the line and titillation.
You really have to be thin to pull, and which makes sense because I think everyone died of consumption in the 1920s, right?
I mean,
like eventually.
I will respectfully disagree because I think Queen Latifah gets to put on. She has like it's a not as like lingerie-ish, but she has the most amazing dress, and her assets are on display in the most wonderful way. That is
not the star, but the sort of background people in
the background people,
and that they're always like they could have that look that looks like they haven't had a meal in a very very long time.
Oh, it's a story about a women's prison. I don't know why they're wearing lingerie, actually.
Boy, that's the male gaze, hey? But
Well,
what time's pillow fight?
so
Well,
some
I could see like
some people were talking about when I was reading, like they were talking about how Moulin Rouge came out the year before, and
Yeah.
you know, it was kind of influential on the way they produced Chicago because it was so
Well,
Did either of you
successful.
like Moulin Rouge?
I love Moulin Rouge, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
yeah,
But it is set in a brothel nightclub, so I mean that makes
Yeah,
the lingerie makes a little bit more sense. But
yeah.
I do think it honestly is like supposed to be burlesque, you know, vaudeville cabaret style, and it's just supposed to be like slinky outfits, and it's meant to sort of be evocative of like the naughtiness of the underground and the nightlife, and you know, they can't be naked because that would be like not cool, but they can be in like these sort of like flesh unitards underneath their lingerie, because you're never really like you're never at risk of seeing like a full-on lady, you know, no labia is coming out at you. It's still under wraps in the flesh unitards underneath the outfits. Also, musical theater, like figure skating, a lot of weirdly slinky outfits with flesh unitards underneath.
You know what I had totally forgotten about that I loved was that Lucy Liu makes a flash appearance in this movie.
When Lucy
Yeah, I know. I've forgotten that
I
too.
forgot that too. I actually screamed, and my grandma was like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "It's Lucy Liu." And she's like, "I don't know who that is."
Well,
That was
yeah,
a wild
I
scene
did.
too. There's one girl in the bed. No, there's two girls in the bed. They're
Oh my god!
like, wow, okay.
Funny.
And they all have very good aims. All these women, by the way.
Yeah.
They are not shooting wild at all. Like they know where. Like they've all come from target practice, and they just know exactly what they're doing. And it's
But I'd be curious to know the background of like how Lucy Liu, like that role, how she got that
Would
role.
that be considered a cameo then?
I guess so.
I think so. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it's just like it's amazing to me to whenever I see like an Asian actor in a role in a movie where it's not written like as an Asian character.
Yes.
It's always kind of a miracle.
Well, and especially because this, like, I mean, a lot of the background actually, and a lot of these sort of like supporting characters, there is actual diversity. Like, it's not like an all white. It is like a very white main cast, but it's not an all white supporting cast. So it's kind of, and I mean, like you'd think, yes, that should exist in Chicago. But I have seen a number of productions of Chicago where it is white on white on white. It's very exhausting.
So why do you think people like the story so much?
I mean, it's people behaving badly for reasons that we can sort of identify with.
And I think the musical numbers, like the music is great. Like the the songs are memorable. I mean, I don't even know why I know the songs in Chicago so well if I only saw the movie starting in 2002 and I've never seen it since. But when I rewatch it again, like I know all the music. It sounds super familiar.
The one that really stuck in my head was that he had it coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it is, there's an audacity to it. Like all of the women in this prison have apparently murdered their lovers or murdered someone who they felt wronged by. When, you know, so often sort of the expectation is that like women are not physically violent and not quick to anger, et cetera, et cetera. And the one story that we do get is the story of the woman who honestly was innocent, and she's the sole person who is hanged in the film because she doesn't speak English. Like I mean, that's a whole additional level in this movie about, you know, what privilege looks like in a prison system. And I think there's just a lot of stuff going on that you can kind of gloss over if you want to just watch like a fun, like robust musical that's like full of action and fast paced and choreography and good songs. But there's also a lot to dig into if you wanted to spend a lot of time analyzing it, and which I always want to do.
Yeah.
Can I ask a kind of a side question?
Yeah.
So Dominic West, who plays
Ugh.
Renelle Zellweger's lover in this, I've only seen him in this movie, and I've seen like the first season of The Affair only, and then in
Mhm.
like Mona Lisa's Smile, he played like a bad boyfriend too. Like,
Yeah.
is that just his like? That's who he's cast as, is like a terrible
Has
boyfriend?
he not been in anything that's
I don't.
nice?
I don't know. I'm asking you because I've never seen. I
Oh,
don't know. Have you seen him in
I've
anything
only
else?
I feel like I have seen him in something nice, but I have to look that up.
Now, every time I see him come on screen, I feel like, like
oh
he's
yeah,
gonna play.
I don't like him. I don't like him much as an actor. I didn't like him in The Affair, and I didn't watch The Affair all the way through, but I watched the first season.
Oh, that's where I saw him in. I watched that movie Colette with Keira Knightley.
Oh, okay. I've never seen it.
I haven't seen.
Oh, I watched it on the
Oh,
plane.
maybe I did.
And he plays he plays a writer as well.
Is he
That
like
steals all her work.
Oh, so
Yeah,
he's a bad guy
yeah,
again.
he plays.
But yeah, he's a bad guy.
He plays
But
Batman in
he does, yeah.
everything. Does he?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Maybe he's like a good dude in real life, but just has such skis vibes that he gets cast in those roles. Like that could be his thing. Like he gives off those skis vibes. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't like him at all.
Yeah, I don't either. And I know it's just because it's just all these movies I've seen where he plays the worst people. And so,
He's one of those interchangeable guys that will, like, back to talking about Jane Austen, like he'll be in a TV production of some, period piece, right? Where he'll play the landowner, or I don't know,
Mhm.
the magistrate, or somebody evil that will take your land.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely wants all your land, and he wants
Yeah.
women.
Right?
But like this movie, it's not just like it still has like good scores, like Rotten Tomatoes. It still has 86% from critics, and the audience score is 83%. 438,000 people have filled in the audience score. Like it's a movie that like resonates, which is strange. But of course, there's like New York Times review from 2002. If we all see, here's the thing about why I think the stories continue to somehow, for me, feel relevant. I think it's always because it's the context of the time. And the review from New York Times in 2002, the title is "Chicago, Bare Legs and All Makes It to Film." That's the title of the review, which, whatever.
Well, to be fair, there are a lot of bare legs.
Sure, there are, but I mean, it's just so weird.
Or unitards in your language.
Unitards in my luck, yeah. So, so this is what he like. This is it's a very like sort of like I don't know, flattering with one hand to like then like diss with the other, but not since Catherine Zeta-Jones used that martial form of Pilates to slither through a series of electronic alarms and entrapment has she shown the kind of physicality she displays here. She pumps her majestic long legs like the cylinders of a Corvette about to redline, but always knowing exactly when to stop short of throwing a piston. Can you just like imagine the amount of time
Does
this writer...
Does he not know about people who are dancers? Because literally she was
Yes.
dancing in this movie as a
The
dancer.
amount of time this writer
Oh my
belabored that sentence.
Probably was masturbating while he wrote it. I mean, my
But
God.
this is the problem. They're always masturbating with one hand and typing with the other. It took so long to
Yeah,
file a piece.
jeez.
It makes me so mad.
That is so embarrassing.
yeah, I know. Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
and
That is so humiliating. It's a musical with dancers.
Yeah.
Is that what, like, he cannot go to, obviously he's a man who can't go to any sort of dance recitals because he would just lose it and
Oh my God, he would completely, he'd just walk in wet stain.
mess with himself.
Yeah. And then this is how he ends the thing. It's not the type of picture that lingers. And obviously, some of the sting like a bee editing is a mercy to Ms. Zellweger, whose float like a butterfly voice doesn't triumph over her my left foot dance skills.
That's brutal.
So clumsy and awful and just like, oh my God.
Didn't he? But yeah, that's like so missing the point of everything. I mean,
This
I'm
whole
sorry. I
this whole
didn't like it as
I
much as you two. I
No,
don't.
that's fine.
I
That's fine.
it's but I certainly understood what they were trying to do, and to
but I
miss
think
out
but
completely
I
that
think Renee Zellweger for her character gave a fantastic performance.
was exactly right to
Yeah.
me. It was yeah, it made sense, everything.
Like
I
if
just
if she outshone Catherine Zeta-Jones by being a better singer and dancer, like that wouldn't even make any sense.
Yes.
The point was she murdered someone because he questioned her talent, of which she had none.
Yeah.
It's literally the whole movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know for me that this movie pops.
I'm not gonna be a jerk. I mean, it pops. It's just not my favorite musical or movie. I think it's fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong about it. It just isn't. It does. I didn't leave it with that. I don't know. A good musical to me has like transports me. There's something sort of seamless about the combination of the music and the story, and this didn't make me feel that way.
All right, fair. AG?
I think it still pops. I think I'm a person who doesn't really care for many musicals. And when I watch musicals, I'm always like waiting for the song to be over because I just
Wow.
don't care about songs.
Wow.
But no, that's exactly how I kind of felt.
But yeah, but for this one, I felt like the songs were all catchy and strong, and the numbers were all like big and showy, and it kept my attention. And so I feel like it is a really great musical because even though it was stuffed with so much music, I never got bored or impatient. I was still like, yeah, I'm still into this movie.
We love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. AG, do you want to go first?
Sure. So one of my favorite things to watch on Netflix is this show called Midnight Diner Tokyo Stories. And it's a Japanese show. It's subtitled. But it's about this guy he's a chef, and he runs a midnight diner that only opens from like midnight to 7 o'clock in the morning. And he has this like regular clientele that comes in, and then always some oddball comes on in every episode. Like
Is it a documentary or
no, it's like a soap opera. It's like a Japanese soap opera type show. And the thing about his restaurant is that like he'll cook you anything you want as long as he has the ingredients. And so he has all these random people coming in asking him to make random things, and it's actually like it's hard to describe, but it's just this nice quiet show that it's like 20 minutes long each episode, and he cooks some nice Japanese food. Like there's a different recipe that goes with every episode.
Oh, I like that.
And then you get like sort of a short story, like an episodic story about some oddball character that's come to his 8-person diner.
That's
That
awesome.
sounds so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very soothing, calming thing to watch. So, yeah,
That's amazing.
recommend it.
Lisa.
I think so. We are 2 weeks behind, right?
Yeah.
So just today, I think it was yesterday, Michelle Obama's documentary Becoming came to Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
which is the following her on her book tour for her memoir.
Yep.
And in a time of feeling rather hopeless about a lot of things, it just fills you with awe and joy, and I mean, I don't think they could have planned it, obviously,
Yeah.
knowing that this would happen,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people at home right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, Michelle Obama's anyway, I don't have to sell Michelle Obama. So I'll stop here.
I'm recommending a book, a graphic novel, graphic memoir, called Dancing After 10. It's by Vivian Chong and Georgia Weber. Both live in Toronto and then Southern Ontario. Vivian's in Toronto. And just really briefly, in late 2004, Vivian Chong's life was changed forever when a rare skin disease left her with scar tissue that would eventually blind her. And this memoir is harrowing. It's the stuff that she has experienced and gone through, the elements of it as a graphic memoir, because she is a graphic designer and an artist, but she's now blind, and just anyway, her journey, her medical issues, everything she has faced. Georgia is also has a graphic memoir about her struggles with a chronic vocal cord condition and like a debilitating pain that she is in. Anyway, it's a really beautiful book. It's called Dancing After 10. Super inspiring, amazing story. And also just really, like, if you just really experience what someone goes through when their life changes completely dramatically 360 degrees and it's entirely out of their hands. It's a really amazing story.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of inspiration, everyone.
You've made
So
me
much
want to order
inspiration.
that.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's from Fantagraphics, a Seattle-based graphic novel publisher and bookstore, which is a great place. And yeah, it's Canadian and it's great. Anyway, well, thanks everyone for
Come to the
listening.
end.
Thank you so much for everyone for listening. This is so nice. You can hang out with us on our social medias. We're trying to give you a heads up as to what we're watching from home. And so we'll like put stuff on our Instagram and our Twitter and our Facebook and try and like give you some notice and so that you can have watched it by the time we talk about it.
Yeah, then you can send us an email saying you guys are full of, whatever you want to say. Or, wow,
Or-
you really captured my spirit.
Intimate love
Lisa,
letters.
you're
That's
right.
what we want.
Jesus Christ Superstar is the best musical.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I will be recognized. I also kind of like the Sound of Music a lot too. But anyway,
I
moving
support you
along.
on that one.
Thank
Have you
you.
ever seen The Sound of Music?
That's so shocking to me.
Come on.
It's just
How
like,
is a person who says they like musicals?
no.
This has not. I
She
I
shocks
disagree.
me.
You do not like musical theater.
She mentions
Couldn't be
this
if you've
like
not seen
every
Sound
6
of
months.
Music.
She
I
mentions
still
this
haven't seen
every
it.
6 months, and I'm shocked and new.
High on the Hill was a lonely goat herd.
I mean, I know the references. You can't,
Wow. Wow.
But so yeah, like you can't really talk about what your favorite musical is because you clearly
You have not seen The Sound of Music.
there's a huge
Yes,
gap
guys,
in your.
that's the real reason why I can't talk about what my favorite musical is. Come on,
That's
I'm literally gonna eye roll myself to before the pandemic if you keep going on about The Sound
No,
of
so
Music being
wait. What is your
what
favorite musical?
disqualifies me as a musical.
What is your
fan.
favorite musical?
Probably Sweeney Todd.
Okay, you're not gonna like Sound of Music.
I know. Yeah.
Forget it. Don't even watch it. You're gonna
Sweeney
ruin
Todd
that.
is
Don't
genius,
even.
and
I
love it
don't
so
want you to
much.
ruin Sound of Music for me.
I
Yeah,
want to
no
ruin
kidding.
now. I want to ruin Sound of Music for you.
Well, I mean, sure, you've got butchers and killing people, but in Sound of Music, you had Nazis. So, there.
It's weird. I'm pro butchers, anti-Nazi. Who knew?
Yeah, well. Everyone, also in Sound of Music, they're anti-Nazi too. just
Okay, good. So
FYI.
it's not good.
Yeah.
Good. Because weird if that was the
Yeah, it would
turnaround
be
of the
weird.
story. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, on that weird note,
Sweeney Todd.
guys,
no Sound of Music.
it's
Okay.
genius. All right.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.